All right, so we're diving into some really interesting stuff about Battambang province in Cambodia.
Yeah, you sent us a really fascinating mix of tours and descriptions.
And it seems like you're especially curious about two sites, the Killing Cave and the Bat Cave.
It is interesting, right, how these two places, which are both located on Phom Sampho, offer such contrasting experiences.
So on one hand, you have this really dark history.
And then on the other, you have this incredible natural spectacle.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So Phom Sampho, which is also known as Sampov Mountain, is about 140 meters high.
Okay.
And most of the tours that we've looked at include a stop at the Phom Sampho Temple, which is at the very top.
At the top,
You have
yeah.
to say the views from up there are just absolutely breathtaking.
Oh, wow.
You can see the entire Battambang region stretching out below you with all its rice paddies.
It really sets the stage, doesn't it, for this whole experience. You
Okay.
have this like panoramic beauty, and then you go and you delve into these caves with their completely different vibes.
Exactly. It's like this mountain embodies this duality of beauty and tragedy.
Yeah, it's true.
And speaking of tragedy, let's talk about the Killing Cave.
Okay.
It's a very chilling reminder of what happened during the Khmer Rouge regime.
Yeah, it's a somber place for sure.
It is.
The tours that we looked at mentioned that over 10,000 people were killed there.
It's a truly horrific chapter in Cambodian history.
Can you imagine the cruelty
It's hard to even comprehend.
of the Khmer Rouge forcing people through an opening at the top of the cave?
Yeah.
I mean, just awful.
The tour descriptions mention a monument inside the cave where some victims' remains are kept.
I was reading about that.
Yeah. It must be incredibly powerful to actually be there in that space,
Yeah.
surrounded by those tangible reminders of the past.
You know, it makes you think about the importance of these sites of memory, right?
Yeah,
It's not just about preserving history.
No.
It's about acknowledging the suffering, honoring the victims,
Yeah.
making sure that such atrocities never happen again.
Absolutely. It's about learning from the past.
Yeah.
But then, you have the Bat Cave offering a completely different experience.
Right. Totally different.
It's almost like nature's way of showing resilience and hope.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Every evening, millions of wrinkle-lipped bats fly out of this cave to feed at Tonle Sap Lake.
Wow. Millions.
Millions.
The tours describe it as this massive cloud of bats against the sunset sky.
Oh, wow.
It takes over 50 minutes for all of them to emerge.
I can't even imagine.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, I can't even imagine. It must be both awe-inspiring and a bit unsettling at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of like that duality we were talking about earlier.
It really speaks to the power of the natural world, doesn't it?
It does.
It's a reminder that life, in all its forms, persists even in the face of darkness.
Yeah.
And in a way, that feels very connected to the resilience of the Cambodian people,
That's a great point.
you know?
Yeah, so we have these two caves, each offering a powerful experience in its own way. But what are the practicalities of actually visiting them? What do the tours say about getting there and what to expect?
Well, both caves are located on Phnom Sampho, which is about 9 miles southwest of Battambang City.
Okay.
The tours highlight several different ways to get there. You can take tuk-tuks, motorbikes, cars,
Okay.
even bicycles.
And boats. You mentioned boats earlier.
And boats, yeah. Imagine like cruising down the Angkor River, taking in the scenery at a leisurely pace.
Sounds really nice.
It's a very unique way to see the region, and some tours actually incorporate a boat trip as part of the package.
That's awesome. So it seems like there are options for everyone, no matter what your travel style is.
Yeah, exactly. And many tours actually combine the caves with a ride on the famous Battambang bamboo train.
The bamboo train, right?
And visits to other interesting spots,
Okay.
like rice paper and rice wine production, ancient temples,
Yeah.
local villages, and even something called the Black Man Statue roundabout. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. It sounds intriguing, though.
Yeah, it's out there.
So there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
We have these two very different caves.
Yes,
A variety of ways to get there.
many different ways.
And then all these other potential stops along the way.
It's a choose-your-own-adventure kind of place, isn't it?
It really is. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's focus on the caves for now.
Okay, yeah.
What specifically do the tours say about visiting the Killing Cave?
Well, the descriptions paint a pretty somber picture. Visitors usually walk up the mountain to the cave entrance, and then there's a path that leads down into the cave itself.
Okay.
Inside, you'll find that monument dedicated to the victims of the Khmer Rouge.
And the descriptions don't shy away from the details, do they?
No, not at all.
Some even mention that the monument is actually filled with the bones and skulls of those who were killed there.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a stark reminder of the horrors that took place.
It's a difficult thing to confront.
It is.
But I think it speaks to the importance of remembrance. It's about acknowledging the weight of history and ensuring that those who suffered are never forgotten.
Absolutely. So from this place of somber reflection, you then have the option of experiencing the Bat Cave.
Right.
Which is known for this incredible natural spectacle.
Yeah.
What do the tours say about that experience?
They describe it as something truly unforgettable. As the sun starts to set, you gather near the mouth of the cave and wait, and then it starts.
Okay.
First a trickle of bats, then a steady stream, and finally this swirling mass that just fills the sky.
Oh, wow.
Millions of bats flying out to feed.
Millions.
Their wings making the soft whooshing sound. It goes on for almost an hour.
Wow. It's hard to imagine the scale of it.
It's hard to imagine.
It must be both breathtaking and a bit eerie at the same time.
It must be.
Kind of like the duality we were talking about earlier.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? You have this darkness represented by the killing cave, and then this incredible display of life and resilience with the bats.
It's like the mountain itself is telling a story.
Exactly, and that story continues beyond the caves.
Right. The tours mention several other intriguing places.
Yeah, like Wat Samrong Mon, for example, which is described as the oldest Buddhist temple in the province. It dates back to 1707.
Wow.
It's a beautiful example of traditional Khmer architecture.
Yeah.
But sadly, like so many places in Cambodia,
Yeah.
it also bears the scars of the Khmer Rouge era.
Right.
It was used as a detention center and a killing field where thousands of people lost their lives.
It's heartbreaking to think about how many lives were impacted by that regime.
It really puts the scale of the tragedy into perspective.
It does. And then there's Eek Phenom Temple, which was built in the 11th century.
Right.
What's interesting about this one is that it has both Buddhist and Hindu elements.
It reflects the layered history of the region, doesn't it?
It does.
The way different cultures and beliefs have intersected over time.
It seems like every corner of Battambang holds a piece of history waiting to be discovered.
It's a place where you can really delve into the past,
Yeah.
but also witness how the present is being shaped by that past.
It's definitely making me rethink my travel bucket list.
Mine too.
But before we jump ahead to planning our trips,
Yes.
let's talk a little more about the practical aspects of visiting these places.
Okay, good idea.
What kinds of tours are available?
Right.
How much do they cost?
Mm-hmm.
And what other logistical details should we consider?
Good question.
Okay, so let's get into some of those logistics then.
Right?
You've definitely piqued my interest with these caves.
Yeah.
But how do people actually get to them?
Right.
Is it easy to incorporate them into like a larger Battambang itinerary?
Yeah, the tours that we looked at suggest it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
So remember, Phnom Senh Po, where both of the caves are located, is about 9 miles southwest of Battambang City.
Okay.
Most of the tours offer various different transport options.
Oh.
You can take tuk-tuks, motorbikes, cars,
Okay.
even bicycles for the more adventurous types.
For those who fancy a little exercise?
Yeah, exactly.
Now that's an interesting way to experience the Cambodian countryside.
Yeah.
What about the boat tours?
Boat tours, yeah.
You mentioned those earlier.
Yeah.
How do those work?
So picture this. You're cruising down the Angkor River,
Okay.
taking in the scenery at a leisurely pace.
That sounds nice.
It's a really unique way to see the region, and some tours will actually incorporate a boat trip as part of the package.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You also mentioned something called the bamboo train earlier.
Oh, yeah, the bamboo train.
It's not every day that you hear about a train made of bamboo.
Right, it's pretty unique.
It is.
So the bamboo train, or nori as the locals call it,
Okay.
is a really fascinating bit of Cambodian ingenuity. And it's essentially a bamboo platform on wheels,
Okay.
powered by a small engine, and it's actually a remnant of a railway system that was largely destroyed during the Khmer Rouge era.
It's amazing how people adapt
I know.
and find creative solutions,
Yeah,
even in really difficult circumstances.
totally.
But is it safe?
Yeah, so from the descriptions, it seems relatively safe,
Okay.
though perhaps a bit bumpy,
A
so
little bumpy. Okay.
it's become a very popular tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And many of the tours include a ride on the bamboo train as part of their itinerary.
So it's not just a quirky mode of transportation.
No.
It's a way to actually connect with the landscape and kind of see the local life.
Exactly. And there's this really unique aspect that adds to the whole experience.
Okay, what's that?
So if two noris meet head on, the one with the lighter load has to be disassembled and moved off the tracks.
Oh, wow.
So you might have to pitch in and help out.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a whole process.
Talk about teamwork and flexibility.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very hands-on experience.
Very hands-on.
I like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of resilience, let's circle back to the Killing Cave.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about its somber history,
Yes.
but what can visitors actually expect when they visit?
Well, the tours describe a pretty powerful experience. You know, you walk up the mountain to the cave entrance, then there's a path that leads down into the cave itself.
Right.
And inside, you encounter the monument dedicated to the victims.
Yeah.
A very chilling reminder of the brutality that occurred there.
The tours don't really shy away from those difficult details, do they?
No, they don't.
Some even mention that the monument is filled with the bones and skulls of those who were killed.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
It forces you to really confront the reality of what happened there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It must be a very emotional experience.
Yeah, it is.
Do the tours offer any guidance on how to approach a visit to such a sensitive site?
You know, a lot of them emphasize the importance of respectful behavior
Okay.
and quiet reflection, so it's a place for remembrance and honoring the memory of those who suffered.
Right.
And some tours even include a moment of silence or a small ceremony as part of the visit.
Okay, so it's not just a tourist attraction, it's a
Yeah.
memorial. It's about acknowledging the weight of history and ensuring that those who perished are never forgotten.
Exactly. And in a way, that makes the experience of the Batcave even more poignant. You know,
Yeah.
It's like nature offering a sense of hope and renewal after confronting such darkness.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
What do the tours say about witnessing that bat flight?
Oh, they describe it as absolutely mesmerizing.
Oh.
As the sun begins to set, visitors gather near the mouth of the cave, anticipating the spectacle.
Yeah.
And then it starts. A few bats at first,
Okay.
then a steady stream, and finally this massive cloud of bats just filling the sky.
Oh, wow.
It's really something else.
It's hard to imagine.
It is hard to imagine.
Standing there and watching millions of bats swirling against the backdrop of the setting sun.
I know.
Must be an incredible contrast to the somberness of the Killing Cave.
There's a certain duality to Battambang, wouldn't you say?
Here is, yeah.
This interplay of beauty and darkness,
Yeah.
history and nature.
It's a place that seems to offer a unique blend of reflection and wonder.
Yeah, I think so.
But beyond these two caves,
Yeah.
what else did the tours recommend?
Okay, so one recurring theme in If the Tours is this emphasis on exploring the local culture and cuisine.
All right.
They'll often highlight stops at places where they make traditional rice paper
Okay.
and rice wine,
Interesting.
offering a glimpse into these age-old practices.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
Getting a taste of authentic Cambodian life.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about the food?
The food.
Yeah.
Are there any culinary experiences that stand out in the descriptions?
I'm curious.
Well, this one might surprise you. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
It's rat barbecue.
Rat barbecue.
Rat barbecue.
Now, that's not something you hear every day.
No, it's not.
What? Tell me more about this.
So apparently it's a very popular street food in the area,
Okay.
often sold near Pham Sampo.
Right.
The tourists describe it as a local delicacy, though they also acknowledge that it might not be for everyone.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's definitely an adventurous choice.
It is.
Do they mention what it tastes like?
Some descriptions compare it to chicken
Okay.
or rabbit, but ultimately it seems like one of those things you have to experience for yourself to truly understand.
Okay, I'll take their word for it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll stick to the rice wine for now.
Probably a good call.
But I do appreciate that the tours highlight these unique cultural experiences.
Yeah.
Even if they're a little bit outside my comfort zone.
That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. That's all part of getting a genuine sense of place.
For sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
So speaking of expanding horizons, the tours also mention a few other intriguing places.
Yeah, what else did you find?
What can you tell us about Wat Samrong Nam?
Okay, so this temple was built in 1707,
Okay.
and it's described as the oldest Buddhist temple in the province.
Okay.
It's a really beautiful example of traditional Khmer architecture,
Okay.
but sadly, like so many places in Cambodia,
Yeah.
its history is also intertwined with the darker side of Cambodia's past.
Right.
So during the Khmer Rouge regime, it was used as a detention center and killing field.
It's a stark reminder that even sacred spaces weren't immune to the horrors of that era.
Unfortunately not.
And then there's Ika Fan Temple, which is interesting because it represents a blending of religious traditions.
Right. That's a good one.
So this 11th century temple actually features both Buddhist and Hindu elements,
Wow. Okay.
which reflects those complex cultural influences that have shaped Cambodia over the centuries.
It really does, yeah.
The tours highlight the intricate carvings
Yes.
and sculptures as a testament to the artistry of that era.
Really impressive stuff.
It sounds like a place where history and art really converge.
Huh.
A must-see for anyone interested in delving deeper into Cambodian culture.
Absolutely.
But let's get back to the practicalities for a moment. Okay, we've talked about the various ways to get to the caves
Yeah.
and some of the other sites.
Right.
But what about the tours themselves? What kind of options are out there?
So the tours really cater to a wide range of interests and budgets. There are half-day tours that focus specifically on the caves,
Okay.
and then full-day tours that combine the caves with other attraction, like the bamboo train, visits to local villages, that sort of thing.
So you can pick a tour that fits your time constraints and also fits what you want to see.
Exactly. And there's also more specialized tours like cooking classes.
Fun.
Where you can learn to prepare traditional Cambodian dishes.
Okay.
Or photography tours that focus on capturing the beauty of the region.
Oh, that's cool.
So a lot of variety.
It seems like there's something for everyone.
Yeah, I think so.
What about the cost of these tours?
So the prices vary depending on the type of tour,
Okay.
the duration,
Yeah.
and the inclusions.
Right.
But in general, they're quite affordable,
Okay.
especially considering the unique experiences they offer.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Are there any other logistical details that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so the tours emphasize the importance of dressing respectfully when visiting temples,
Okay.
which means covering your shoulders and knees.
Right.
And they recommend bringing sunscreen, insect repellent,
Yeah.
plenty of water, especially if you're exploring the caves during the hotter months.
Sound advice.
Yeah.
So we've covered transportation, tours, what to wear.
Huh?
Is there anything else that people should keep in mind when planning a trip to Battambang?
Well, it's always a good idea to learn a few basic Khmer phrases.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Even just hello, thank you, how much. It just shows respect.
Right.
And it can make interactions with locals more enjoyable.
I agree. Even a little effort goes a long way.
It does.
But beyond the practicalities, what do you think is the one thing that really stands out about Battambang? What's the overall takeaway from all of these tours?
You know, for me, it's the sense of duality.
Okay.
This interplay of light and shadow, beauty and tragedy. It's a place where you can confront the horrors of the past, but also marvel at the resilience of nature and the human spirit.
It's a place that challenges and inspires in equal measure,
Yeah, that's it.
and a place that's definitely earned a spot on my travel wish list.
Mine too.
But before we start booking flights,
Yeah.
there's one more element I think we need to explore.
Okay.
Remember those descriptions of the Killing Cave?
Yes.
The monument filled with bones, the somber atmosphere.
Yeah, very heavy.
It all kind of raises a question.
What's that?
How do the tours navigate the ethics of showcasing such a sensitive site?
That's a really good point.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
It is.
On one hand, it's crucial to remember and honor the victims.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's a risk of turning tragedy into spectacle.
Right, exactly.
So how do the tours ensure that they're approaching this site with the respect and sensitivity that it deserves?
Right, that's the question.
Let's delve into that aspect next.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very complex issue. How do you present such a sensitive site in a way that's informative and respectful,
Right.
but also without feeling exploitative?
Yeah. And, you know, the tours seem to handle it in different ways.
Okay.
Some of them focus on providing a lot of historical context,
Okay.
explaining the events that led to the tragedy,
Right.
and the broader impact of the Khmer Rouge regime.
So it's not just about the physical space.
Right.
It's about understanding that bigger picture.
Exactly. They aim to give visitors a much deeper understanding of the events that unfolded there.
Yeah.
So it's not just about seeing, you know, a collection of bones, but about actually grappling with a really difficult history.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Context is so important.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're dealing with these kinds of sensitive topics.
Yeah.
What other approaches do the tours take?
Well, many of them really emphasize the personal stories of survivors,
Okay.
sharing firsthand accounts of what they endured. It allows visitors to really connect with the human cost of the tragedy on a much more emotional level.
That must be incredibly powerful.
It is.
To hear those stories directly from the people who lived through it.
Absolutely. It adds a layer of authenticity
Yeah.
and immediacy to the whole experience.
Yeah.
It reminds visitors that these were real people,
Right.
not just statistics.
It's about humanizing the history, right?
Exactly.
Making it more than just facts and figures.
Sure.
And some tours even incorporate elements of remembrance and reflection.
I was reading about that.
Yeah.
Like they might include a moment of silence at the monument.
Okay.
Or encourage visitors to write messages of hope and peace.
That's a beautiful way to acknowledge the suffering
It is.
and pay tribute to those who are lost.
Yeah, and it really shifts the focus from just observing to actively engaging with the memory of those events.
So it seems like the tours are making a real effort
They are.
to present the Killing Cave in a responsible and respectful way. But there's always the risk that some visitors might not approach it with the same sensitivity.
That's true.
Right.
And the tours acknowledge that challenge.
Yeah.
They really emphasize the importance of respectful behavior and encourage visitors to be mindful of the site's significance.
It's about setting those expectations, right?
Yeah.
Making it clear that this isn't just another tourist attraction,
Yeah, exactly.
but a place of remembrance.
It's a memorial.
And ultimately,
Yeah.
it comes down to individual responsibility as well.
Absolutely.
Visitors need to approach these sites with empathy
Yeah,
and a willingness to learn from the past.
for sure.
It's not just about ticking something off your travel bucket list.
Right.
It's about engaging with history in a meaningful way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it seems like the tours are doing their best to facilitate that.
I think they are.
Yeah.
And they also highlight the fact that visiting these sites
Yeah.
can be a catalyst for deeper reflection on these broader issues, like the nature of conflict, the importance of human rights,
Right.
the power of resilience.
It's about connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is.
Seeing how the past informs the present
Yeah.
and shapes our understanding of the world.
Absolutely.
So while the Killing Cave is a stark reminder of a very dark chapter in Cambodian history,
For sure.
it's also an opportunity for learning
Yeah.
and growth.
It's a place that can challenge us to be more compassionate,
Yeah.
more understanding, and more committed to building a better future.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And that brings us back to that sense of duality that we've been talking about this whole time.
Right.
You have the somber, reflective experience at the Killing Cave,
Yeah.
and then you have the awe-inspiring spectacle of the Bat Cave.
Totally different experience.
It's like two sides of the same coin,
Yeah, I like that.
both essential to really understanding the complexities of Battambang.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that even in the face of tragedy,
Yeah.
there's beauty and hope to be found,
There is.
and that the journey of discovery
Yes.
often involves confronting both darkness and light.
That's a good way to put it.
It's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience, isn't it?
It is.
The joy and the sorrow,
Yeah.
the resilience and the fragility.
All of it.
And that's what makes a place like Battambang so compelling.
It really does.
It's a destination that invites you to think,
Yeah.
to feel,
Feel it all.
and to connect with something larger than yourself.
Absolutely.
So to our listener,
Yes.
we encourage you to explore Battambang,
Yeah.
not just for its incredible sights,
No.
but for the profound questions that it raises
Yeah.
about history, humanity, and the natural world.
Big questions.
Let it be a journey of discovery, one that stays with you long after you've returned home.
For sure.
Keep asking questions.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring and keep seeking those deeper layers of understanding.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll find yourself standing on that mountaintop,
Yeah.
witnessing those bats take flight, and reflecting on all that you've learned along the way.
Safe travels.
Until next time.